the Indiana Fever beat the Dallas Wings 102-83. This was a highly anticipated game because it was going to be the first time that Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers would be going up against one another in the WNBA.
For 5 years, the world of women's basketball has been lucky enough to witness a rivalry so electric, so personal, and so transformative that it has elevated the sport to new heights. Two names, Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, have become more than just elite athletes. They are symbols of two clashing philosophies, two unique styles of play, and two entirely different visions of greatness. Their paths first crossed as teenagers, high school sensations already drawing national headlines and national TV coverage. They were prodigies, not merely among the best of their class, but the best. Every recruiting analyst knew it, every scout saw it, every fan felt it. From the start, the contrast was striking. Caitlin Clark, the bold fire starter, brought raw scoring power that defied belief. She could drop 30 points without blinking.
Hey, Caitlin. You've known Paige since middle school, AAU. You guys were on the U19 World Cup team together. Is there anything that maybe stood out then about her, whether it be on or off the court, that maybe still reigns true today?
I mean, I feel like she's played in the same manner that she, has since she was, whether we were on the U16 team together, U19 team together, whether it was me watching her in AAU, like she's always just been smooth. She takes what the game gives her. Her midi has always been as nice as it's been this year. She's just she just plays way older than she is. Like she's confident, she's smooth, she just does everything at a high level, can score from all three levels. And that's how she's always played, and that's obviously translated really well.
Her range extended past the logo, and her court vision created highlights even when she wasn't shooting. Her passes were dazzling. No look, behind the back, full court lasers that split defenders like a magician slicing cards. Her style, audacious, daring, spectacular.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, everything is she was Caitlin before Caitlin, she's better than Caitlin and all this stuff. That kind of stopped in the media. Caitlin Clark put up better numbers in the WNBA than Paige did in college.
Spectacular. On the other side stood Paige Bueckers, the smooth operator, whose calm control was every coach's dream. Her mid-range game was poetry. Her passing was elegant and efficient. She didn't just read the floor, she saw 3 plays ahead. Bueckers played like time slowed down around her, as if she existed in a different rhythm than everyone else. Where Clark was fire, Bueckers was water, flowing, steady, unshakable.
And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement.
When the time came to choose colleges, they didn't just choose schools, they made statements. Bueckers joined the University of Connecticut, the most iconic program in women's basketball history, coached by the legendary Gino Auriemma, a man with championship rings stacked like poker chips. UConn was where champions went to finish what destiny had started. It was structure, legacy, and excellence.
Talking to our player development coach yesterday, and he was just sent me a few things of even Steph going through a slump. I think he was 27 for his last 70 or something like that. The best in the world go through it, and I think that's where you can find your confidence. And I think the thing I always fall back on is I know how hard I've worked, so this isn't something that's going to last, and the best players in the world go through this. So I feel like I'm getting good shots, and I think that's why it's frustrating, because those are the shots that I make.
Clark, however, chose to disrupt the system. She committed to the University of Iowa, a proud program, yes, but not one known for dominating March. It didn't have a long history of banners or All-Americans stacked on the bench. What Iowa had, though, was belief. Clark didn't go there to maintain a legacy. She went there to build one.
I feel like this stretch, this is a big game for us. I think we've struggled in the fact that we're able to play one good game, and then we play a bad game, then we play a good game, then we play a bad game. So I think for us is we got to find a way to be able to stack really good games together, and then we go on the road, and we're on a back-to-back, which is just a challenge in itself. No matter who you're playing, we play Connecticut, then we play New York. So I think Steph's message was, yes, All-Stars coming up, that break's coming up, but our focus is on these 3 games that we have left. So In that sense, I do think it's critical that our focus just remains on the game in front of us, and I feel like that's what everybody in the locker room is doing.
Behind the scenes, a philosophical war was brewing between Clark's fast-paced vision and Coach Stephanie White's slower approach. Clark wanted to push the tempo and create fast break opportunities.
From scratch, on her own terms, and so began the modern era's most compelling rivalry. They met 3 times in college. Paige won the first, but the next 2 belonged to Clark, and in legendary fashion, none more so than their 2024 NCAA Tournament Showdown.
There is definitely something going on within the locker room, the front office. Something is off, man. This is the 3rd situation in one game we have had involving Caitlin Clark and the coaching staff and pretty much another player. And it looked like Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White definitely had a situation where they was in a heated exchange right before halftime.
With the bright lights shining and millions watching, Clark dropped 41 points, dismantling UConn's defense and ending Becker's tournament hopes in brutal, unforgettable fashion. In that game, Clark didn't just outplay Becker's, she outclassed an entire program. She tore down a dynasty, and in doing so, she cemented herself as not just a star, but a phenomenon. But college success, even when historic, does not guarantee professional triumph, especially not in the WNBA, where the physicality is relentless, the schedule unforgiving, and the learning curve sharp. And so, when both Clark and Beckers declared for the WNBA draft, the next chapter began. Expectations were sky high. Fans waited breathlessly for their first pro clash. The basketball world wanted answers. Would the rivalry continue? Would Clark still dominate?
You know, it can be frustrating when your shot isn't going in the way that you want it to, but then like I look at the box and it's like, I'm really 4 shots away from having a really good game, a really good shooting game. So that's where you find your confidence. And I know those are shots that I can make, and I'm never going to stop shooting. So, I mean, until I break out of it, I'm just going to keep launching, and that's all I know. And I'm still confident in everything that I can do.
Would Beckers rise to the top in the pros, where many believed her game would shine even brighter? But as always, real life is more complex than hype. Clark landed with the Indiana Fever, a young team full of promise but plagued by inconsistency. The early season was tough, losses piled up, close games slipped away. There were chemistry issues, system issues, and above all, an identity crisis. Coach Stephanie White ran a traditional system, half-court offense, slower pace, predictable rotations. It was basketball by the book. The problem? Caitlin Clark doesn't read the book. She rewrites it. Clark thrives in transition, fast breaks, broken plays, chaos. She creates order within disorder, but White's system kept her tethered. You could see it in the games. Clark would glance toward the bench, hesitate, and slow down the tempo. It was like watching a race car stuck in traffic. The tension finally boiled over in a highly publicized game against the Atlanta Dream. Cameras caught Clark and White in a heated exchange on the sideline.
Lee Rue the other night had a season high 18 points. Here's Boston turning the corner. Dishing to Hull. Extra feed Clark. A deep 3. You bet. And he actually brought up stats from a shooting slump Steph Curry went through. She said that made her feel a lot better. That pass will as well. Right on the money to Mitchell.
Cunningham attacked the closeout.
Clark, the rejection of Quinterly. Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Touchdown Fever.
Words were exchanged, eyes locked, no one backed down. It wasn't just frustration, it was a clash of basketball ideologies. Still, Clark didn't waver in confidence. Even during a brutal shooting slump, she stood tall. "I'll never stop shooting," she said. "Even Steph Curry has cold streaks." Meanwhile, the Fever were in disarray. Players like Damaris Dantas were returning from international duty. Lineups were shuffled like a deck of cards. Roles weren't clear. Momentum would flicker, then die. The Fever desperately needed a spark, and the Dallas Wings game was circled on every fan's calendar. Not only was it Clark's first professional matchup against Paige Beckers, but it was also the moment to answer the critics. Could she lead? Could she still dominate when the defense was tighter, the players stronger, and the expectations heavier?
Here's Clark being hawked by Isaiah James. Clark sidestepping 3 is good. Clark backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, baiting away and dropping it in. Beautiful. Here's Clark off the screen, through the lane, feeds Howard. Another assist for Clark. That's 13 as Howard is up to 18 points.
Dallas, led by Beckers and Arike Ogunbowale, was no easy opponent, and just days before, the Fever had lost winnable games to the Sparks and Valkyries. Fans were losing patience. Analysts were sharpening their knives. Then, something changed. Coach Stephanie White made a bold decision. She handed the offense over to Clark. No more breaks. No more slowing down. It was go time. At first, the game moved cautiously. Both teams traded baskets. The pace was deliberate. Clark distributed the ball, trying to find her rhythm. The Wings kept up. But in the second quarter, everything exploded. Clark turned up the tempo. Fast breaks. Full court outlet passes. Drive and kick plays. Suddenly, the Fever looked alive. They scored 36 points in 10 minutes, outscoring Dallas by 21. It was a frenzy, led entirely by Clark's orchestration. Kelsey Mitchell lit up the scoreboard, dropping 20 points with precision.
And he actually brought up stats from a shooting slump Steph Curry went through. She said that made her feel a lot better. That pass will as well, right on the money to Mitchell. A tenacious start from Caitlin Clark. Here's Ogunbowale off on a three. Long rebound. Mitchell, you're not going to catch her. Kelsey Mitchell in for two. They elevate each other because of how hard they compete. Nice look. Aaliyah Boston with a gorgeous dime to Kelsey Mitchell.
Natasha Howard raced the floor like a power forward possessed. Aaliyah Boston bullied defenders in the paint and finished with grace. Clark fed each of them like a maestro conducting an orchestra. The chemistry was instant, and the results were historic. The Fever scored 64 points in the first half, a new franchise record, shattering their previous best of 63 points from 2016. Not only that, but it was the highest scoring half by any WNBA team in the 2025 season. Clark had 13 assists by the end. The ball was moving, the crowd was roaring, everything clicked. Sophie Cunningham came off the bench with a spark, adding 13 points and surpassing all 1,500 career points in the process. Her presence gave the Fever another layer of threat that Dallas simply couldn't match. But the real story? Clark's defense. Midway through the third quarter, fans started realizing something special was happening. Clark wasn't just scoring and assisting, she was shutting people down. Her anticipation in the passing lanes was elite. She jumped routes. She forced turnovers. She disrupted.
Mitchell bounces. Boston one more time. This time Mitchell delivering. And Boston up to 13 points. Indiana shooting 66%. Cunningham the rebound. Cunningham swiftly up the floor. Finds Howard for two. Sophie Cunningham making a huge impact off the bench. And Dallas will take a timeout.
In this lineup, Natasha Howard is the quickest post player on the.
Good dub. 2 in a row. 2 more to All-Star. Let's go.
W. Oh, Fever does. You already know what's coming. Bow, bow, bow. On to the next. Hell yeah! Can you use that one? Let's go, baby. Give your girls either Christmas. W. Now we gotta go get another one.
Everything. With just over 4 minutes left, she recorded her 5th steal of the night. And just like that, she made WNBA history. With 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals, Caitlin Clark became the only player in league history to post that exact stat line in a game. Not once, but twice. She stood alone, in a league full of greats. Only she had done it, and she did it again on the night where everything mattered. Her defense was more than numbers. She forced Arike Ogunbowale, Dallas's star scorer, into a disastrous night. 0 for 10 shooting, 2 points, total shutdown. Every time the Wings tried to play physically with Clark, grabbing her off screens, trying to slow her down, she responded with even more precision. If they overplayed her, she'd find the open teammate. If they backed off, she pulled up from 3. It was checkmate.
It's in bounds. Clark backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, fading away and dropping it in. Beautiful mid-range fadeaway from Caitlin Clark.
To Matt, Cunningham attacked the closeout.
Clark, the rejection of Quinterly. Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Touchdown, Fever.
Sophie Cunningham runs the route and puts her hand up in the air, gives Caitlin Clark the target. Barely over the fingertips of Hines Allen. Beautiful, beautiful pass. Catch, in stride, finish. Beautiful basketball.
I feel like this was one of their best games as far as playing Fever basketball, which is a fast-paced style of basketball. They played Fever basketball for, I would say, about 75 to 80% of the game. And we have obviously seen this style of basketball, the style of basketball that we all know and love from the Indiana Fever, but we have only really seen it in short spurts. There have been so many games and so many times throughout this season where it feels like the Fever system is a slow down basketball type of system. Their offense wasn't running smoothly, but in this game, they were playing quick. They were moving the ball around. They had so many points off of the fast break.
Over and over, when the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard read 102-83, a blowout. But more than the score, the night belonged to Clark. She had answered every question, shut down every doubt. She hadn't just adapted to the WNBA, she had redefined it. For Beckers and the Wings, it was a brutal reality check. For Clark, it was vindication. Her style can work. Her leadership does matter. Her vision for basketball, unstoppable when trusted. Coach White's decision to let Clark loose wasn't just a coaching move. It was a franchise-defining moment because now the Indiana Fever know who they are. They are Caitlin Clark's team. With road games looming against powerhouses like Connecticut and New York, the tests will keep coming, but the blueprint is now written, and Caitlin Clark has proven she's not just ready for the WNBA, she's reshaping it. If you believe in what Clark just showed the world, drop a comment that says CC Record Breaker down below. Like this video, subscribe for more elite basketball storytelling, and hit that notification bell, because this rivalry is just heating up. And if you want to relive more legendary moments, click the video on the screen now. We'll see you in the next one.